Leta Sobierajski. I'm a graphic designer and an art director, and I share a studio with my husband, Wade. I grew up in upstate New York, and I went to school at SUNY Purchase, which is about an hour north of New York City. I studied graphic design for 4 years, graduated, and moved to New York, and have been working here ever since. Our creative process is pretty all over the place. We don't have one specific way of tackling a project. We're extremely hands-on, and I think that's one of the only things that's so consistent about the way that we work. We typically start with, whether it's branding or art direction or photography, no matter what it is, we typically start with sketches, working off the computer, oftentimes then building things, photographing them, bringing them back onto the computer, into this cyclical process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even though we work together, we still think it's pretty important to have time separately so that so that our ideas are not fluid from the start.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best way to gather inspiration is through your experiences and your exposure to culture and your exposure to art and exhibitions and food and everything tangible, and having conversations with your friends and with strangers and traveling to places that are unknown and foreign. I think those are the best invigorating ways to develop new ideas and spark new ways of thinking.
Yeah.
I think Wade and I are both heavily inspired by fashion. Fashion's quite, it's such a contemporary thing, and it's always changing, and fashion tends to inform a lot of art and design and other creative avenues. I think Wade and I, on our off time, we try to do a lot of travel for art, as he already mentioned, art and landscape and nature. And we have done a lot of travel to Japan to see these things that we seek out, where we read about them and realize that it's a thing that we have to experience on our own. But I think it doesn't limit to just there. I mean, I grew up in the countryside in upstate New York, like in the literal woods, and I think that's just as inspiring, like being able to observe not necessarily a visual, but the absolute silence of your ears ringing when you're in this completely barren landscape.
Yeah.
My favorite tools, our hands.
Hmm.
Our hands are undoubtedly our favorite tools, as well as X-Acto knives,
Yeah.
and we don't use rulers very much.
Yeah.
What else? It's hard to say what our favorite is because we've done so many projects with so many weird materials
Mm.
that just the exoticness of what we're using is really
Mm.
exciting. Like we've done projects with wigs, like colored wigs, as well as different types of like hands. Like we have all these monster hands in our studio. What else have we?
Yeah.
We also have rubber snakes.
Hmm.
We have plenty of eyeballs.
Yeah, there's a
Uh,
lot of. Some people would call it shit, but we use it. So
yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense to throw these things
yeah,
away
yeah, it's
because
wasteful.
we can repurpose them
Hmm.
or just figure out something silly to do on a slow Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
I see our society changing with the influence of technology, hopefully in a positive way, but I just see it as more mediums and more possibilities for making work and different with different capabilities that we will grow to learn and understand, but may not necessarily be able to fathom right now. A bit of
Yeah.
a roundabout way of
Yeah.
answering.
Having it too much.
It's cool. You can already see that there are people who are exploring those ideas. Or even, I know Apple just did their latest update where you get to choose to have it monitor how much time you spend on your phone or on an app, and it's really helpful because we are being sucked into these things that are extremely productive but also massive time wasters.
Hmm.
And it's important that we're acknowledging that this is something that needs to be remedied, or we need to identify how we can be more efficient with our time.
Yeah.
You are sitting.
No, but I mean with technology.